In Damien McCarthy's Hokum, the title isn't just a dismissive slur of the supernatural. It's the armor Ohm Bauman uses to keep his trauma from devouring him. The Cailleach isn't a random forest hag. She's sort of a karmic predator that only hunts those that preyed on by the lost. The Hokum Ohm laughs at is the only thing that could have saved him, but his refusal to acknowledge the weight of his past, symbolized by the literal urns of his parents' ashes, acts as a homing beacon for the entity. So if you haven't seen Hokum, you should probably leave now. This is a deep dive for people who want to explore the ending. So we start with Ohm Bauman arriving at Billberry Woods Hotel. He's a writer of pulp trilogies. He's carrying literal urns to spread at a tree that his mom had her picture taken at while they're at their honeymoon at this hotel. His urns are sort of cumbersome. He refuses to let anyone touch them. I guess this is a way for McCarthy's visual grammar. The physical weight equals the emotional stagnancy. He's literally carrying his monstrous father and the murdered mother into the epicenter of the Cailleach's territory. Cobb, the hotel owner, claims the honeymoon suite is locked because a witch is trapped inside. Of course, Ohm calls it pure hokum. It's the classic skeptic's shield. Then Ohm meets Fiona. She's about the only human element in this weird, creepy environment. When she vanishes, the staff acts with the chilling indifference we've come to expect from McCarthy's villains. When she goes to check on him later that night, she discovers that Ohm is hanging. He tried to kill himself. She rescues him by using her little mini saw. After weeks in the hospital recovering, he comes back to thank Fiona, but discovers that she's vanished. So we got like a analog bridge, another McCarthy thing. It's Ohm finds the tape recorder. This is sort of like the doomed audio device, just like the intercom and Cailleach. McCarthy uses the analog tech to bridge the gap between the living and the dead. The tape reveals that Fiona was murdered by Mel, who impregnated her and didn't want his father-in-law, the owner of the hotel, to find out. I mean, the film wants us to look for the witch, but it forces us to watch the hotel staff. I mean, Mal, obviously, to cover up a mundane cold-blooded murder. So, like a lot of McCarthy's films, the horror is sort of tiered. It's human cruelty as a foundation, but the supernatural is the roof. And Ohm teams with Jerry, a vagabond who looks like he's walking out of a fever dream. And before he gets to the hotel suite to discover Fiona's body, Jerry slipped him some mushrooms, of course. And while Ohm is up there, trapped, locked in by Mal, he has this drug-induced vision of the Rabbit Man. So the rabbit is sort of McCarthy's signature Herald of Doom. In Cailleach, it was the drumming toy. Here, it's a bug-eyed entity in the shadows. It signals that the boundary between Ohm's logic and the netherworld has officially sort of dissolved. To find the truth, Ohm removes Fiona's body from the dumbwaiter and decides to go down to the basement himself. Of course, is another callback to the harness and chain in Cailleach. And McCarthy loves these locked room puzzles where the solution requires a physical, mechanical struggle. The dumbwaiter isn't just a lift, it's a gateway to the underworld. So Ohm isn't entering the room to solve a mystery, he's subconsciously seeking a breakthrough for his book and his life. I mean, he does think he's walking into a room full of hokum. Instead, he's walking into the Cailleach's mouth. The moment the door locks behind him, the psychological drama dies and the supernatural nightmare begins. So once the door to the honeymoon suite clicks shut, the cerebral puzzles of the first acts sort of vanish. The film shifts into a visceral, closed-loop nightmare where the Billberry Woods Hotel finally reveals its true architect. So Ohm discovers the hidden dumbwaiter serves as a direct pipeline to the hotel's darkest secrets. This is where he finds Fiona's body. She was left there to starve by Mal to hide the pregnancy, like I said before. Of course, he uses the legend of the Cailleach as a convenient disposal system for that murder. But the supernatural side of the ledger finally balances. The Cailleach appears, not like a fleeting ghost, but like a veiled one possessing physical weight and iron shackles. She targets those weighted down by the lost. Jerry tries to rescue Ohm, but Mal follows, kills Jerry, and tries to kill Ohm too. Ohm takes the key. They were both locked in, as Mal set the hotel on fire earlier. to cover his tracks, and goes down the dumbwaiter. Mal has to follow. Both Ohm and Mal are shackled as the Cailleach drags them both into the portal. Fortunately, Ohm has the mini saw and saws his way to freedom. Although Mal is being dragged into the basement portal, we see a glimpse of the netherworld, a void populated by greedy black figures mentioned in Oddity. And Ohm escapes the Billberry Woods Hotel. So the key of unlocking the film lies in Ohm's own writing, where the film starts and it ends. The epilogue of his Conquistador trilogy describes a soldier who must kill a boy to open a treasure bottle. Ohm is the soldier, and the treasure he sought was a career and a life liberated from his father's sins. But to open the bottle, he had to kill the boy inside himself, the part that still felt the trauma of his mother's murder. By labeling his past as Hokum, he effectively murdered his own emotional truth. The Cailleach wasn't just haunting the room, she was summoned by the specific frequency of Ohm's repressed guilt. There was like some community speculation that Jerry is a survivor from the mental institution seen in Oddity. His familiarity with the rules of the entity implies that he's encountered this void before. There's another theory that identifies the Rabbit Man as Ohm's father, transformed by the netherworld into a herald that forces Ohm to keep carrying the family secrets. But I do think the ending was played fair. I mean, every mechanical detail, the service bell, the dumbwaiter, the urns, they serve as both like functional plot points and a metaphorical anchor. The ending is a logical conclusion of a man who refused to see the machinery until it started crushing him. And I think it's satisfying. It's just, Ohm didn't defeat the witch with a clever trick or anything. McCarthy chooses the cynical route, acknowledging trauma doesn't automatically stop the gears from turning. Anyway, that's my take on the ending. Check out my spoiler-free review of Hokum here by my head, and check out my playlist by my head. And I'll see you next time.